Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. Happy to report that the rundown is brought to you by our friends at the VFS School of Game Design. Thank you so much for the love and support, Vancouver Film School. Today's rundown is dedicated to EP's oldest fan, George Wicks, who is turning 75 today. Happy birthday, George. This rundown is all yours. It's looking like Breath of the Wild is going to be the best game of 2017. Yes, I know that was flame bait, but that's because Rockstar Games has officially delayed Red Dead Redemption 2. The open-world western was slated to ride into town this fall, but the dev team has pushed it back to spring 2018. In a statement on their official blog, Rockstar says that they need more time because this is their first game created from the ground up for current-gen consoles, and they want to make sure they deliver the best experience possible. The delay is disappointing, but not totally unexpected, given that Rockstar has a history of pushing back their games and not releasing them until they're ready. Red Dead Redemption 2 looks like a very ambitious project with the biggest map in Rockstar's history. It will also have a robust online component inspired by Grand Theft Auto 5's popular GTA Online mode, which is still raking in the dough almost 4 years after it was released. Rockstar says that more details on Red Dead Redemption 2 will be announced this summer, so we've got our fingers crossed for a big E3 reveal. The next Far Cry game is going to take players to the most dark and primal region yet, the far-off and exotic land of Montana. Ubisoft has revealed new details about Far Cry 5, the latest game in their first-person shooter franchise. The game will take place in the U.S. state of Montana, making it the first in the series to be set in a Western nation, although don't expect to visit any real-world locations because all the action will be contained within Hope County, which isn't actually a real place. So who will you be fighting this time around? Since this is Montana, you probably won't be battling any third-world military dictatorships. Judging by a series of teaser trailers, it looks like the bad guys this time around will be some kind of cult or militia, which looks to be providing a sinister underbelly to the beautiful Rocky Mountain scenery. Ubisoft's last big game, Ghost Recon Wildlands, received criticism from the people of Bolivia for the game's depiction of their country, so hopefully the people of Montana won't be too annoyed by Far Cry 5. We'll have more on the game soon. Some very sad news is happening behind the scenes of the Justice League movie. With 6 months to go before the film is released, director Zack Snyder and his wife, producer Deborah Snyder, have stepped down from their duties on the film. The reason couldn't be more tragic. Their daughter, 20-year-old Autumn Snyder, died in March, and the pair say they need to take a step back from the film to deal with the loss and the impact it's had on their family. Zack Snyder says that he had originally planned to cope with the loss by burying himself in work, but he's come to realize that that just wasn't working. We wish the Snyders our deepest condolences. Justice League is still moving forward. Warner Brothers and DC are bringing in Avengers director Joss Whedon to manage the rest of the post-production process. Whedon recently joined the DC family by signing on to write and direct a Batgirl movie, and he says that with the work he's doing on Justice League, he plans to adhere to Zack Snyder's style and tone. Justice League will land in theaters on November 17th.
I dig it.
It looks like the new Spider-Man is trading in his web shooters for some rope, a pistol, and an old notebook. Spider-Man Homecoming star Tom Holland has reportedly been cast as the iconic video game hero Nathan Drake in the long-in-development big-screen Uncharted movie. He certainly knows how to scale walls like Drake, but at just 20 years old, he might seem a bit young for the job. That's the idea. Deadline reports that the film will actually be a prequel to the games, focusing on a younger version of Drake and exploring how he became a treasure hunter. This was briefly touched upon in a flashback sequence in Uncharted 3, not to mention the Vita game Golden Abyss, and starting Drake young on the big screen means that Sony Pictures will be able to keep making movies with the same actors for years or even decades to come. The studio must really be impressed with Tom Holland's performance in Spider-Man if they're banking on him to be the lead in a big new franchise like Uncharted. There's no word yet on when the Uncharted movie might explore theaters, but you know we'll have more details as they come in. Spider-Man Homecoming will swing into cinemas on July 7th. And one of Spider-Man's biggest foes is oozing his way closer to theaters with one of Hollywood's biggest actors as his host. Sony Pictures has officially cast the Dark Knight Rises villain Tom Hardy as the lead in their long-gestating Venom movie. He'll play Eddie Brock, the second host of the Venom parasite, who goes on to become one of the most powerful villains in the Marvel Universe. Here's where things get a little confusing. Sony Pictures says that the Venom movie will be part of a new shared cinematic universe that they're calling Sony's Marvel Universe, which will presumably include all the Spider-Man heroes and villains that they own the rights to. The problem is that the new Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, is already part of Disney and Marvel's shared cinematic universe thanks to a complicated licensing deal between Sony and Disney. If Spider-Man appears in the new Venom movie, will he be played by Tom Holland? Or will Sony be legally obligated to find a different actor so that they don't conflict with the MCU? The studio hasn't said, and all of this is probably going to confuse audiences when these films start rolling out. The Venom movie will slime audiences in fall 2018, with production slated to begin later this year. I hope you saved your progress, because the biggest film series based on a video game is hitting the reset button. The Resident Evil film series might be getting a reboot. Variety reports that with the latest film, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, bringing the story to a conclusion while also raking in the dough, distributor Constantine Film wants to keep the franchise alive and is currently developing a reboot. They haven't said when the new film might arrive or if any of the creative team behind the existing films will be back. Rebooting the franchise seems like a good opportunity to take things back to the basics. The first Resident Evil movie, released in 2002, was sort of like the first games, but with every sequel, the films and the games drifted further and further apart, making the most recent entries seem like they had nothing to do with each other at all. A less action-oriented horror movie, similar in style to Resident Evil 7, would seem like a good place to start, but there's no telling what direction the new films might take.
I told you to stay out of here!
It looks like the Terminator franchise is getting a hard reboot, but the original Terminator will be back again.
I'll be back.
Having just appeared in 2015's Terminator Genesis, Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to return to his iconic role for another new film. Speaking with Screen Daily at the Cannes Film Festival, Schwarzenegger revealed that he'll be in the new Terminator movie that's currently being developed by franchise creator James Cameron, who wrote and directed the first two films.
You gonna tell me what this is about?
Schwarzenegger didn't reveal any other new details about the project, but he says Cameron has some good ideas about how to continue the franchise.
Hey, I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
The rights to Terminator will revert back to Cameron in 2019, 35 years after the original film was released, and he's planning to produce the new movie with Deadpool director Tim Miller set to helm. Hopefully they can put things back on track. With the exception of T2, all of the Terminator sequels have been pretty crappy. Genesis failed to meet box office expectations and forced the studio to scrap their plans for sequels, which is why the rights reverted back to Cameron. It's unclear how Arnold will be worked into the story or if the film will account for his older version of the character that appeared in Genesis. There's no fate but what they make.
I'll be back.
And that wraps up our rundown for the day. Remember, if you want to know more about game design, visit our pals at VFS.edu. We'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, check out some of the other content we've made. And if you like it, hit subscribe, all right?